The train rattled along the tracks like an old memory refusing to fade. Ava sat by the window, her chin resting on her hand, watching the scenery blur into greens and golds. Summer had descended over the countryside, warm and soft, but it didn't ease the heaviness in her chest. Her grandmother's last words echoed in her head like a haunting refrain. "Promise me you'll go back, Ava, to Willow Creek. Find the cottage. Live there, even if just for a while. That town, it holds the pieces of who you are." Ava had nodded through her tears the night her grandmother passed. Ruth was the only family she had ever known, the one who had raised her after her mother died when Ava was a baby. She had never asked about her father. Ruth had always said he wasn't part of the picture. That was enough for Ava, until now. She shifted the worn leather bag in her lap. Inside was a small envelope her grandmother had pressed into her hand with trembling fingers. "Don't open it until you're there," Ruth had whispered. Willow Creek. The name sounded like something out of a storybook, not a real place. But now the train was slowing, pulling into a quaint little station with hanging flower baskets and a wooden sign that read, "Welcome to Willow Creek." Ava stepped off the train and was immediately swallowed by the unfamiliar quiet. The air smelled like pine and wildflowers. People milled about in a lazy rhythm, greeting one another by name. She felt like an intruder in someone else's world. She pulled out her phone, opened the email with the address her grandmother had left her, and started walking. The directions led her down a winding path lined with maple trees until she found it. A small stone cottage tucked at the edge of the woods. It was perfect, in a way that felt heartbreaking. The ivy crawling up its walls, the worn blue door with a brass knocker shaped like a fox. This place had history. She unlocked the door with the key Ruth had mailed her weeks before her passing. Inside, the air smelled faintly of lavender and dust. There were old furniture pieces draped in white sheets, faded wallpaper curling at the edges. She imagined Ruth once standing here, perhaps as a young woman. That night, Ava sat cross-legged on the wooden floor, the envelope in her lap. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a single letter written in her grandmother's looping script. "Ava, this cottage belonged to your mother. She loved Willow Creek, and I believe she wanted you to know it too. There's something else you should know. Your father is from Willow Creek. I never told you because I wanted to protect you from disappointment, but now I think you deserve the truth. I don't know where he is now or if he's even alive, but I know his name, Daniel Whitaker. If you find him, tell him about your mother. Tell him about you. Love, Grandma Ruth." Ava's breath caught. She read the name again, Daniel Whitaker. 1,000 questions swirled through her head, but one thought rose above the rest. What if he's still here? The next morning, Ava ventured into town for supplies. Willow Creek's general store looked like something from the past, with its wooden floors and bell that jingled when she stepped inside. A tall man in his 30s stood behind the counter. He smiled politely. "Morning. You must be new here. Haven't seen you around before." "I just moved into the cottage at the edge of Pine Road," Ava said, unsure why she felt nervous. "Ah, the old Ellison place," he said, recognizing it instantly. "I'm Evan. I run this store with my mom. What's your name?" "Ava," she said softly. Evan's eyes lingered on her as if she was familiar, though she knew that was impossible. "Well, welcome to Willow Creek. Need help finding anything?" She grabbed a basket and filled it with essentials: coffee, bread, canned goods. When she reached the counter again, Evan leaned in slightly. "You know, people around here like to chat. You'll hear plenty of stories about the cottage. It's been empty for years, belonged to a young woman, your mother, I think. She passed a long time ago, didn't she?" Ava hesitated. "Yes, she did. I'm just trying to piece together some family history." Evan's expression softened. "You might want to talk to Pastor Graham. He's been here forever, knows everyone and everything." Ava thanked him and left, her heart pounding. Pastor Graham. Maybe he knew Daniel Whitaker. The church sat on a hill overlooking the town. Its white steeple gleamed in the sun. Ava found Pastor Graham, a kindly man with a weathered face, trimming roses outside. "Pastor Graham?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," he said, setting down his shears. "What can I do for you?" "I'm looking for someone. Daniel Whitaker. He used to live here, I think. Do you know him?" The pastor's brow furrowed. "Daniel Whitaker? Yes, I knew him. A good man, though troubled. He left town years ago after. He stopped himself, glancing at her carefully. Why are you looking for him? Ava swallowed hard. I think he might be my father. The pastor's eyes widened slightly. Your father? Well, I'm sorry to say I haven't seen Daniel in nearly 20 years. Last I heard, he was working construction out of state. But he hesitated. There's someone else you might talk to. Claire Hastings. She and Daniel were close. She still lives here. Ava nodded, feeling a strange swirl of dread and hope. Claire Hastings' farm sat at the far edge of town, acres of golden fields stretching as far as Ava could see. Claire was in her late 40s, strong and no-nonsense, with her hair tied back in a messy bun. You're Ava, Claire said the moment she opened the door. Her voice held no surprise. Yes, how did you? Word travels fast in Willow Creek, Claire said with a half smile. And you look like your mother. God, you're the spitting image of her. Ava's chest tightened. You knew her? Claire nodded. She was my best friend. We were inseparable in high school. When she got pregnant, I was the first person she told. Ava blinked, stunned. So you know about Daniel Whitaker? Claire's expression grew somber. I do. He was your mother's great love, but life wasn't kind to them. Daniel had a rough childhood. He wanted to do right by her, but things fell apart. When she passed, he was devastated. He left town soon after. Do you know where he is now? Ava asked, hope creeping into her voice. Claire hesitated. I might. But Ava, you need to be careful. Daniel isn't the man he was back then. Losing your mother broke him. If he's still struggling, you could get hurt. Ava's hands clenched. I have to try. He's the only family I might have left. Claire studied her for a long moment, then sighed. Fine. I'll make some calls. In the meantime, stay in the cottage. I'll come find you if I learn anything. Back at the cottage, Ava found a note slipped under the door. It was written in sharp block letters. You don't belong here. Go back where you came from. Her heart pounded as she looked around the empty yard. Who would do this? Later that evening, she went into town again. At the diner, whispers followed her. A few people stared openly, and she caught fragments of conversation. That's her? Ruth's granddaughter? The one asking about Daniel Whitaker? As she sat alone at a booth, the waitress, a young woman with too much eyeliner, leaned in. Word of advice? Stop asking questions about Daniel. People don't like it when old ghosts get stirred up. Why not? Ava asked, her voice shaking. The waitress shrugged. Because not everyone wants the truth to come out. Ava's appetite vanished. She left the diner and walked back to the cottage, the night air thick with unease. Around midnight, Ava awoke to the sound of footsteps outside. She grabbed the baseball bat her grandmother had left in the closet and crept to the door. A knock echoed through the quiet house. She held her breath. Who's there? No answer. Then a voice, low, rough, almost hesitant. Ava? It's me. Daniel. Her heart stopped. She unlocked the door slowly, and there he was, a man in his 50s, tall and weathered, with deep lines etched around his eyes. He looked like life had been hard on him. I heard you were looking for me, he said, his voice thick. I think I'm your father. Ava stood frozen in the doorway, the baseball bat still gripped tightly in her hands. The man on the porch, Daniel Whitaker, watched her with tired eyes, his hands shoved deep in his jacket pockets. He looked like he had been standing in the cold for hours. I don't understand, Ava whispered. How did you know I was here? Daniel gave a weary half shrug. In Willow Creek, you hear things. Someone told me Ruth's granddaughter was asking about me. I had to see for myself. She stepped aside hesitantly, allowing him in. The smell of rain and sawdust followed him as he entered the small living room. Up close, he was taller than she expected. His face was rugged, a mixture of strength and sorrow. He removed his cap, revealing hair streaked with silver. Ruth always said you were... Ava stopped herself. Why didn't you try to find me? Daniel flinched at the question. Because I didn't think I deserved to. After your mother died, I was a mess. I thought you were better off without me. Her hands trembled as she set the bat aside. You were alive all this time. Grandma never said you were dead, but I thought. Daniel stepped closer. Ava, I wanted to be in your life, but I was 22 when you were born. I had nothing. I thought Ruth would do better raising you. She was strong. I wasn't. Ava's eyes burned with tears. Do you even know what it was like growing up wondering why my father didn't want me? I did want you. Daniel said, his voice cracking. I just didn't know how to be a father. The silence in the cottage was deafening. Ava wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly unsure if she should be relieved or furious. Daniel sat on the edge of the old couch, staring at the floor. I'm staying at the motel in town, he said quietly. I'm not here to cause trouble for you. I just wanted to meet you. If you want me to leave, I will. Ava studied him for a long moment. His voice was steady, but his hands betrayed him. They shook slightly as they rested on his knees. No, she said finally. I don't want you to leave, but I need time. Daniel nodded. I understand. I'll be around if you decide you want to talk. As he stood to go, Ava blurted out, Wait, do you want to have breakfast tomorrow? At the diner? A flicker of hope crossed his face. Yeah, I'd like that. When the door closed behind him, Ava collapsed on the couch, her heart racing. She had just met the man who gave her life, yet she felt like she had opened a door to a storm. The next morning, Ava arrived at the diner early, her nerves buzzing. Daniel was already there, sipping black coffee at a corner booth. He stood awkwardly when she approached. You look like your mother, he said softly, as if the words had been bottled up for years. She was beautiful, Ava said, at least from the photos Grandma showed me. She was, Daniel agreed, his voice thick. She had a smile that could light up the whole town. They ordered pancakes and eggs, but neither touched their food at first. Ava decided to dive straight into the questions that had been clawing at her all night. Why did you really leave Willow Creek, she asked. Daniel hesitated. Because I couldn't stay. Everywhere I looked, I saw your mother. I was drowning in guilt. I thought, if I left, maybe you'd grow up without the shadow of my failures. Failures? I couldn't save her, he said hoarsely. She was sick, Ava. Complications after you were born. I was too young, too poor, and I couldn't give her what she needed. When she died, I blamed myself. Ava felt tears slide down her cheeks. She had always believed her mother's death was a tragic accident, but she had never known the details. Daniel reached across the table hesitantly, resting his calloused hand over hers. I'm sorry for everything you missed out on. If I could go back, I'd do it differently. Ava stared at his hand. It was warm, solid, but she didn't know if she was ready to bridge the gap of 25 years in a single morning. As they left the diner, Ava noticed the stares. People whispered behind menus, eyes darting between her and Daniel. Why are they looking at us like that? Ava asked, her voice tight. Daniel's jaw clenched. Some people in this town blamed me for your mother's death. Others think I abandoned you. Willow Creek has a long memory. Is that why I got that note? Ava asked. The one telling me to go back where I came from? Daniel stopped walking. You got a note? Yes. Slipped under my door. Do you know who could have? No, Daniel said sharply, his eyes darkening. But I'll find out, and whoever it was, they're going to regret it. Ava grabbed his arm. Daniel, don't. I don't want more trouble. He looked at her for a long moment, then nodded stiffly. Fine, but you need to be careful. Someone doesn't want you here. Later that afternoon, Claire Hastings showed up at the cottage, her expression troubled. I heard Daniel's back, she said without preamble. Ava nodded. I met him last night. We had breakfast this morning. Claire sighed. Ava, you have to be careful. Daniel, he's complicated. He's made a lot of enemies in this town, and not all of them are forgiving. Enemies? Ava frowned. Why? He seems broken, but not dangerous. Claire hesitated. There were rumors after your mother died. People said Daniel was drinking too much, getting into fights. Some thought he was responsible for a fire at the lumber mill, though nothing was ever proven. He left before things got worse. Ava's stomach churned. Do you believe that? No, Claire said firmly. I think he was grieving, but grief makes people do reckless things. Ava sat on the porch steps, her head spinning. I don't know what to believe anymore. He's my father, but I barely know him, and now I feel like the whole town wants me gone. Claire knelt beside her. Listen to me. You're stronger than you think, and Daniel, he loves you, even if he doesn't know how to show it. But there's something else you should know. Ava looked up, wary. What? Claire hesitated, then whispered, Your mother didn't die right after you were born. She lived for a few months. She left behind a journal, Ava. I think it's still in the cottage, hidden somewhere. She wrote about you and Daniel. Ava's breath caught. A journal? Where? Claire shook her head. I don't know, but if you find it, you might finally understand what really happened. That night, Ava tore through the cottage, searching for any sign of the journal. She pulled open drawers, checked under floorboards, sifted through boxes in the attic. Finally, in a small trunk at the back of a closet, she found it. A worn, leather-bound book with her mother's name, Elena Whitaker, etched on the inside cover. Her hands shook as she opened it. Dear Ava, the first page read, if you're reading this, it means I couldn't stay with you long enough. But I want you to know something. Your father loved you before he even saw you. He wasn't perfect, but he was trying. I was scared, Ava. Scared that if something happened to me, you'd grow up feeling unwanted. But you are the best thing I ever did. Ava's vision blurred as tears spilled down her cheeks. The entries painted a picture of a young couple, struggling, but in love, dreaming of a future they couldn't quite reach. One entry stopped her cold. Daniel doesn't know, but someone's been threatening me. Notes left at the door, saying I should leave town, that Ava isn't welcome. I don't know who it is, but I'm afraid. Ava clutched the journal to her chest, a chill racing down her spine. The next morning, Ava found Daniel waiting outside the cottage. We need to talk, he said. I found Mom's journal, she said bluntly. Daniel's eyes widened. You did? What did it say? She was being threatened, Ava said. Before she died, she got notes, just like the one I got. Daniel, what if whoever did this back then, what if they're still here? Daniel's face darkened. If that's true, then someone's been carrying this grudge for 25 years. Before Ava could respond, a car pulled up. It was Evan from the general store. He stepped out, his expression guarded. Ava, can I talk to you? He asked. She frowned. Now's not really. It's important, Evan said, glancing nervously at Daniel. It's about your father. They stepped aside while Daniel waited on the porch. Evan's voice dropped to a whisper. You need to be careful around him, Evan said. Daniel's not who you think he is. After your mother died, he snapped. People say he burned down the lumber mill because he thought someone there was responsible. He nearly killed a man in a fight, and now he's back, stirring up trouble. That's not true, Ava said sharply. He's trying. I'm serious, Evan cut in. I don't want to see you get hurt. Whatever you think he is, he's dangerous, Ava. Ava's heart pounded. She wanted to defend Daniel, but the fear in Evan's voice was real. She glanced back at the porch. Daniel was watching them, his expression unreadable. That night, Ava couldn't sleep. She sat at the kitchen table, the journal open in front of her. Tucked inside the last page was an envelope she hadn't noticed before. It was addressed to Daniel Whitaker, in her mother's handwriting. Ava hesitated, then slid it open. Daniel, if you're reading this, something has happened to me. I want you to raise Ava. She needs her father. But if you can't, promise me you'll find a way to protect her. The person who's been threatening me, they won't stop. They said they'd come after her too. Love, Elena. Ava dropped the letter, her blood running cold. Whoever had threatened her mother might now be targeting her. She didn't hear the footsteps behind her until it was too late. Ava, a voice whispered in the darkness, you should have left when you had the chance. Ava's heart pounded as the voice cut through the stillness of the cottage. She spun around, clutching her mother's journal like a shield. A figure stepped from the shadows. The faint moonlight filtering through the window revealed Evan, his face tense and unreadable. Evan? Ava whispered, relief flooding her for a moment, until she saw the glint of something metallic in his hand. A hunting knife. You should have left when you got the note, Evan said quietly, stepping closer. You've stirred up things that were better left buried. Ava backed toward the door, her hands shaking. Evan, what are you doing? What does this have to do with my mother? She never should have come back here, Evan said, his voice rising with bitterness. Your mother thought she could take Daniel away from us. She ruined everything. Us? Ava's voice cracked. What are you talking about? My father, Evan said, his jaw tight. He owned the lumber mill. He blamed Daniel for burning it down. He blamed your mother for making Daniel stay. When she died, my father swore Daniel was responsible somehow. He hated both of them, and now you're back, asking questions. I can't let you undo what's been settled. Ava's breath came in shallow gasps. My mother didn't ruin anything. She was threatened, Evan. The same way you're threatening me now. Did your father, was he the one who scared her before she died? Evan's face twisted with something like guilt. He thought she'd leave town if he pushed hard enough. He didn't mean for her to, but then Daniel lost control. He set the fire, Ava. He nearly killed my father. I can't let him hurt anyone else, and I can't let you stay. Ava's back hit the door. She gripped the journal tighter. Please, Evan, you don't have to do this. I just wanted to know who I am. That's all. For a moment, Evan's expression flickered, hesitation, but then his grip on the knife tightened. It's too late. The front door burst open with a crash. Daniel stood in the doorway, his face hard as stone. Get away from her, he growled. Evan spun, startled, but Daniel moved fast. He grabbed Evan's wrist, slamming it against the wall until the knife clattered to the floor. The two men struggled, their bodies crashing into furniture, shattering a lamp. Ava scrambled to the corner, heart hammering. She watched in terror as Daniel pinned Evan against the wall, his forearm pressed against his throat. You've been behind this all along, Daniel snarled. The notes, the threats, just like your father. Evan choked out. You ruined his life. Daniel's voice was low, dangerous. Your father hated me long before the mill fire. He blamed me for everything he didn't have the courage to face. But I didn't kill Elena, and I didn't start that fire. Ava stepped forward, her voice shaking. Daniel, stop, please. He looked back at her, his chest heaving. Slowly, he released Evan, who crumpled to the floor, coughing. Get out of here, Daniel said coldly. If you ever come near Ava again, I won't hold back. Evan stumbled to his feet, glaring at them both, but he didn't argue. He fled into the night, leaving the door wide open behind him. Daniel slammed the door shut and leaned against it, his head in his hands. I'm so sorry, he whispered. Ava knelt beside him, tears still streaking her face. Daniel, did you really start the fire? His eyes met hers, filled with anguish. No, but everyone believed I did. That night, I went to the mill to confront your mother's harasser, Evan's father. We fought. He called Elena names, said she'd ruined my life. I lost control and punched him, but I didn't start that fire. I left before it happened. By the time I heard, the mill was gone. And so was he. Ava's breath caught. He died? Daniel shook his head. No, he survived, but he told everyone I tried to kill him. I couldn't fight the whole town's hatred, Ava. I had nothing, and I was drowning in grief, so I left. Ava clutched the journal to her chest. Mom believed you loved me. She wrote it down, and she was afraid of someone threatening her, just like me. This wasn't your fault. Daniel closed his eyes, pain etched into every line of his face. I should have been there for you anyway. That's the only thing I'll never stop regretting. Ava reached out and squeezed his hand. You're here now. The sheriff arrived after Ava called, but Evan was long gone. They promised to find him, but in a town as small as Willow Creek, justice felt slippery. Daniel stayed the night at the cottage, sitting in the armchair by the door like a guard. Ava didn't sleep much, replaying Evan's words in her mind. In the morning, Daniel brewed coffee and handed her a cup. You don't have to stay here, he said quietly. You can go back to the city, to your life. This town doesn't want you, Ava. It never wanted me. Ava stared at him over the rim of her mug. But Grandma wanted me here. She said this place held pieces of who I am, and she was right. I found you. I found Mom's journal. I can't just leave now, not when I finally understand where I came from. Daniel hesitated. If you stay, it won't be easy. I'm not afraid of hard, Ava said. For the first time, Daniel smiled. A small, tentative smile, but real. Claire came by later, her face pale when Ava told her what had happened. Evan? I can't believe he would go that far, she said, shaking her head. But I'm not surprised either. His father poisoned him against Daniel from the day he was born. Do you think Evan will come back? Ava asked. Claire's expression hardened. Yes, men like that don't just let things go. You need to be careful. Daniel crossed his arms. I'm not going anywhere. If Evan wants a fight, he'll have to get through me. Ava looked between them, the weight of the situation pressing on her chest. She didn't want more violence. She didn't want to live in fear. But she also knew this wasn't over. 2 nights later, the town held a community meeting at the church. Ava didn't want to go, but Daniel insisted. They need to hear the truth, he said. They've believed lies about me for too long. The church hall buzzed with voices when they arrived. Whispers rippled through the crowd as Daniel walked in, Ava by his side. Pastor Graham stepped up to the podium. Thank you all for coming. We're here to discuss the recent incidents involving Evan Miller and the threats made against Ava Whitaker. All eyes turned to Ava. She swallowed hard and stepped forward. I came here to honor my grandmother's last wish. She began. I didn't expect to find my father. I didn't expect any of this. But I need you all to know something. Daniel didn't abandon me. He didn't kill my mother. He didn't burn down the mill. A murmur swept through the crowd. Someone shouted, "That's not what we heard." Ava held up her mother's journal. This is my mother's words. She was being threatened before she died. She wrote about it, and Daniel tried to protect her. But instead of helping him, this town turned on him. Pastor Graham stepped forward. I can vouch for that. I was here. I saw how people treated Daniel after Elena passed. We all made assumptions, and those assumptions hurt an innocent man. The crowd shifted uneasily. Then a voice rang out. What about Evan? Evan is dangerous, Ava said firmly. He came after me. He wanted to finish what his father started. But I won't let him or anyone else chase me out of the only connection I have left to my family. That night, Ava and Daniel walked back to the cottage together. The air was crisp, and for the first time, the town felt a little less hostile. But as they reached the edge of the woods, Ava froze. The front door of the cottage was wide open. Daniel stepped in front of her, tense. Stay behind me, he whispered. They entered the house cautiously. The living room was ransacked, drawers pulled open, furniture overturned, and in the center of the floor was a single photograph. Ava as a baby, cradled in her mother's arms. Someone had scrawled across it in black marker, "You don't belong here, neither of you." Daniel's hands clenched into fists. He's sending a message, he growled. He's not going to stop until he gets what he wants. Ava stared at the ruined room, a mix of fear and fury churning inside her. Then we stop him first. The next day, Ava and Daniel met with Claire and Pastor Graham at the church. We can't wait for the sheriff, Daniel said. Evan's hiding somewhere, watching us. We need to draw him out. Draw him out how? Claire asked. We make him think Ava's leaving, Daniel said. It's what he wants, right? He'll come to make sure of it. Ava nodded slowly. And when he does, we'll be ready. Pastor Graham looked uneasy. This is dangerous. Evan's desperate. He could hurt you. He already tried, Ava said. I'm not running anymore. That evening, Ava packed a suitcase and carried it to the car parked out front. She made sure the blinds were open, the porch light glowing, an invitation for anyone watching. Daniel stood by the door, tense. We'll give it an hour, he said. If he doesn't show, we'll regroup. Ava's heart pounded as the minutes ticked by. The woods around the cottage seemed to close in, each rustle of leaves a possible threat. Then, just as the clock struck midnight, a shadow moved at the edge of the yard. Daniel's voice was a whisper. He's here. Ava's grip tightened on the journal. She stepped forward, out onto the porch, the cool night air biting at her skin. Evan, she called softly, her voice carrying across the yard. I know you're there. This ends tonight. The woods were deathly quiet, except for the chirping of distant crickets. Ava's voice echoed like a fragile thread in the darkness. Evan, she repeated louder this time. I know you're there. You don't have to hide anymore. Leaves rustled. A shadow stepped into the moonlight, and there he was, Evan, his face hard and twisted with anger. He held a shotgun loosely at his side, its barrel glinting faintly. I told you to leave, Evan said, his voice low, vibrating with rage. But you just won't listen, will you? Ava forced herself to stand tall, though her knees trembled. I'm not leaving, Evan. I won't run from you, from this town, from the truth, not anymore. Evan's jaw tightened. The truth? You don't know the first thing about it. My father lost everything because of your family. He was humiliated, left with nothing. He died alone, bitter and broken. And you think you can just come waltzing back into Willow Creek and pretend like none of it happened? Daniel stepped out from the doorway, his voice like steel. This isn't about your father, Evan. This is about you. You've been carrying his hatred for 25 years, and it's eating you alive. Evan raised the shotgun slightly. Stay where you are, Daniel. You should have stayed gone. You don't belong here either. Ava's heart pounded as she slowly lifted her mother's journal. Evan, listen to me. My mother wrote about what happened. She was terrified. She said your father threatened her, left notes just like you did. She wanted to protect me, even after she knew she might die. But this... Ava's voice cracked as she held up the journal. This isn't protection, it's cruelty. For a fleeting moment, Evan's expression faltered, but then the mask of anger returned. She brought it on herself. She chose Daniel. She chose him over everyone else, and look where it got her. Daniel stepped forward. "Enough," he barked. "You want to blame someone, blame me, but you leave Ava out of this. She's done nothing to you." Evan's hand trembled as he raised the shotgun higher. "You think you can walk back into town, win everyone over, and erase what you did? I won't let you." Daniel lunged just as Evan squeezed the trigger. The blast tore through the air, splintering the porch railing behind Ava. She screamed as Daniel tackled Evan to the ground, the shotgun skidding out of reach. The two men struggled violently, fists flying. Evan's rage made him relentless, but Daniel's desperation gave him strength. He pinned Evan's shoulders to the ground, panting. "Stop, Evan!" Daniel shouted. "This ends now." Evan twisted free, reaching for the shotgun, but Ava darted forward and kicked it aside. "No more," she said, her voice trembling but firm. Evan froze, his chest heaving. He looked up at Ava, and for the first time she saw something other than anger in his eyes. Fear. "You don't have to keep living like this," Ava said softly. "Your father's gone. His hate doesn't have to own you anymore." Red and blue lights suddenly cut through the darkness as a sheriff's car screeched to a halt at the edge of the yard. Two deputies rushed forward, guns drawn. "Drop your weapon," one of them shouted, even though the shotgun lay several feet away. Evan raised his hands, his shoulders slumping in defeat. Daniel stepped back, still ready to intervene if he tried anything, but Evan didn't move. The deputies cuffed him and led him to the car. He didn't resist, didn't speak. Ava stood on the porch, numb, as the car disappeared down the road. Daniel came up beside her, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "It's over," he said quietly. Ava turned to him, her voice breaking. "Is it really?" Daniel pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. "For now," he admitted, "but we'll get through whatever comes next, together." The days after Evan's arrest were a blur. The sheriff visited the cottage to take Ava's statement. Claire dropped by daily with food and words of encouragement. Slowly, the town's coldness began to thaw. People stopped whispering, stopped looking at her like an intruder. At the general store, the older woman behind the counter squeezed Ava's hand. "Your mother was a good woman," she said softly. "I'm sorry we didn't do more to protect her." Ava smiled faintly. "Thank you." Daniel repaired the cottage with steady hands, fixing the porch railing, righting the furniture. Each nail he hammered seemed to release a little more of the guilt he had carried for decades. "You're staying then?" Claire asked one evening as they shared dinner. Ava nodded. "Yes, Grandma wanted me here, and I think Mom would have wanted it too." Daniel looked at her with quiet pride. "I'll stay too, if you'll have me." Ava reached across the table, squeezing his hand. "I'd like that." One afternoon, as Ava sorted through boxes in the attic, she found a second letter tucked inside one of her mother's old books. It was addressed to Daniel, but sealed with her grandmother's handwriting. Ava hesitated before bringing it downstairs. Daniel sat on the porch, sanding a piece of wood for a new chair. "You should read this," Ava said, handing him the envelope. Daniel opened it slowly. The letter was short. "Daniel, I never blamed you. I only wanted to keep Ava safe. But I see now that she needs you as much as she needed me. If she ever finds you, please don't push her away. She is strong, but she carries questions only you can answer. Love her. She is all the best parts of Elena and you, Ruth." Daniel's hands shook as he read the words. "She forgave me," he whispered, more to himself than to Ava. Ava sat beside him. "She always believed in you, and so do I." As summer turned to fall, Willow Creek began to feel less like a ghost town of painful memories and more like a place Ava could call home. She found work helping Claire at the farm and began renovating the cottage into something vibrant again. One crisp October morning, Daniel surprised her with a gift, a framed photograph of Ava's mother, smiling, holding baby Ava in her arms. "I thought it should be the first thing people see when they walk in," Daniel said, hanging it by the front door. Ava blinked back tears. "It's perfect." Daniel turned to her, his voice steady. "I can't change the past, Ava, but I want to be here for you now if you'll let me. Not just as some guy you happen to find, but as your father." Ava stepped into his arms, hugging him tightly. "You already are." One evening, Ava hiked up the hill behind the church. That's where her grandmother and mother were buried side by side. She knelt at their graves, the autumn wind tugging at her hair. "I found him," she whispered, placing a bouquet of wildflowers on the headstones. "I found Dad, and he's trying, Grandma, just like you wanted." She sat there for a long time, letting the peace of the place wash over her. For the first time in years, she didn't feel lost. Weeks later, Pastor Graham invited Ava and Daniel to the town harvest festival. Ava hesitated. She still feared the stares, the whispers, but Daniel took her hand. "Let's go," he said. To her surprise, the festival was warm and welcoming. Children ran with caramel apples, couples danced under strings of lights, and townsfolk approached Ava with genuine smiles. An older man offered Daniel a firm handshake. "We were wrong about you," he said. "I'm sorry." Daniel nodded, accepting the apology without bitterness. Ava watched as Daniel laughed with Claire and helped the children carve pumpkins. She realized then how much had changed, not just in the town, but in their hearts. That night, Ava and Daniel stood on the porch of the cottage, looking up at the stars. "Do you ever think about leaving Willow Creek?" Ava asked quietly. Daniel considered the question. "I used to, but not anymore. This is where you are, where your mother was, where Ruth wanted you to be. It's home." Ava smiled, leaning against his shoulder. "It's home for me too." He wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. "No matter what happens, Ava, I promise I'll never leave you again." "I believe you," she whispered, and for the first time in her life, she truly did. 1 year later. The cottage was alive with laughter and light. Ava had spent the past year restoring it with Daniel, turning it into the heart of their new life. She stood at the stove, stirring a pot of soup, when Daniel walked in from the yard carrying a freshly cut pine tree. "Thought we'd get a head start on Christmas," he said, grinning. Ava laughed. "It's barely November," Daniel shrugged. "I figure we've got a lot of lost time to make up for." As they decorated the tree together, Ava hung an ornament shaped like a fox, the same shape as the old brass knocker on the door. "It feels different this year," she said softly. Daniel nodded. "Because we're not alone anymore." Ava stepped back, admiring the tree, and felt a deep sense of peace. Her grandmother's last wish had led her here, to this small town, to this man who was her father. And though the journey had been painful, it had also been beautiful. She glanced at Daniel, who was untangling a string of lights with a focused frown, and smiled. "I think Grandma would be proud," she said. Daniel looked up, his eyes warm. "I know she would."